Welcome back to Stamps Old World Us, your dedicated home for American philatelic treasures, rare postal histories, and market valuations. Today, we are taking an in-depth look at one of the most iconic commemorative issues from the early 20th century, the 1907 5-cent Pocahontas stamp. Designated as Scott Catalog number 330, issued on May 3, 1907, as part of the three-stamp Jamestown Exposition series. This issue holds significant historical value as it was the very first United States postage stamp to feature an American Indian woman. The design showcases a portrait of Pocahontas dressed in English attire, surrounded by decorative scrollwork, her birth and death years of 1595 to 1617, and bold numeric shield callouts in vibrant blue ink. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing produced roughly under 8 million copies of this specific issue on flat plates with double-line USPS watermarks and gauge 12 perforations, because it met the 5-cent Universal Postal Union International mail rate. Many of these stamps saw heavy commercial usage across the globe. Understanding the current financial market value of Scott 330 requires evaluating its physical condition, centering, and gum quality. A standard used copy with a typical postal cancellation generally fetches between $2 and $5 for space filler examples. However, a clean, used specimen with very fine centering and light cancellation commands a higher average market value between $20 and $30 on standard retail platforms for collectors targeting unused or mint condition examples. The price scale shifts dramatically based on original gum preservation. An unused stamp that features original gum with hinge marks or minor flaws typically retails around $50 to $100. High-grade mint, never hinged specimens in very fine condition average anywhere from $250 to nearly $400 in today's active collector marketplace. Exceptional copies featuring pristine centering and C certifications can push auction realizations even higher into premium territory, whether you hold a used piece on cover or a pristine mint sheet position block. Scott 330 remains a cornerstone of early American commemorative collecting. Make sure to examine the perforation teeth and back gum under proper lighting before placing a value on your copy. Next up, the 1950 to 3-cent Betsy Ross bicentennial stamp, recognized in the philatelic community as Scott Catalog number 1004, issued on January 2, 1952. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, this commemorative stamp was released to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the birth of Betsy Ross, the historical figure famously associated with crafting the first official American flag, printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing using the rotary press process. This stamp was produced in a striking carmine rose color with gauge 11 by 10.5 perforations. The vignette is based on the famous painting by Charles H. Weisgerber, depicting Betsy Ross presenting the newly completed Stars and Stripes flag to the Continental Congress Committee, which included General George Washington, Robert Morris, and George Ross. Over 116 million copies were issued to meet national demand, making it a staple piece in standard mid-century U.S. collections. When looking at the financial evaluation of Scott 1004 in today's active stamp market, its wide availability keeps standard copies very accessible for collectors. A single used example with a typical postal cancellation carries a modest secondary market value of around 20 to 50 cents. For collectors seeking individual unused or mint condition stamps with original gum, typical market prices range between 50 cents to $1 for standard grades. However, the valuation changes depending on the specific format and grading certifications. Mint plate blocks of 4 generally sell between $2 and $3.50, while complete mint sheets of 50 stamps typically retail around $20 to $25 in the retail market. High-grade certified specimens, such as those evaluated as Superb 98 or Gem condition by professional grading services, command the highest premium, often reaching $30 to $40 at auction due to superior margins and perfect centering, whether you collect full mint sheets or single postmarked examples. The 1950 to Betsy Ross issue remains an impressive representation of American history and patriotic philately. Be sure to check your copies for crisp perforations and centered borders to assess their exact value. Next up, the 1966 to St. Frank Lloyd Wright stamp, cataloged in the philatelic community as Scott number 1280, released on June 8, 1966, in Spring Green, Wisconsin. This issue honors one of the most influence-defining figures in modern architecture on what would have been his 99th birthday, designed by the staff of the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation. The stamp features a portrait of Wright in front of an architectural background depicting the iconic spiral structure of the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum in New York City. Printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing on the rotary press in a distinct blue-gray ink, it carries gauge 11 by 10.5 perforations. Because 2 cents was a common rate for non-first-class bulk mail and extra postcard postage during the mid to late 1960s. Millions of these stamps were produced and circulated nationwide. When analyzing the modern dollar value of Scott 1,280 in today's secondary market, its massive press run makes standard copies readily available for collectors. An individual used example with a standard postal cancel holds a nominal secondary value of roughly 10 to 25 cents. Unused or mint single copies with original gum are similarly accessible, generally selling for around 50 cents to $1 among philatelic dealers. Value increases slightly when collecting this issue in larger configurations or special formats. A mint plate block of 4 typically sells for around $1 to $2, while a complete mint sheet of 100 stamps generally commands between $4 and $8 depending on paper freshness. Furthermore, for specialized collectors looking for high-grade certified specimens, examples graded Superb 98 or gem condition by professional authentication services can realize between $15 and $25 at auction due to exceptionally balanced margins and flawless centering. Whether you are collecting the full prominent American's definitive set or focusing on famous figures in American culture, the 2-cent Frank Lloyd Wright issue remains a fascinating piece of mid-century design history. Check your copies for clean perforations and well-centered borders to properly classify your examples. Next up, we are focusing on a scenic statehood commemorative, the 1951 3-cent Colorado statehood stamp, cataloged across the collector community as Scott number 1001, issued on August 1, 1951. In Minturn, Colorado, this release celebrated the 75th anniversary of Colorado joining the Union as the 38th state in 1876, printed in a distinctive blue-violet shade by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing on rotary presses. The stamp measures gauge 11 by 10.5 perforations. The central artwork features the imposing Denver State Capitol building, flanked by the state flower, the Columbine, on the lower left, along with a Bronco Buster cowboy on the right. In the upper background, you can spot the famous Mount of the Holy Cross and the official seal of the state of Colorado. With over 114 million copies printed, it served as standard letter postage during the early 1950s when reviewing the dollar value of Scott 1001 in today's active stamp market. Its large total production makes average copies readily accessible for modern collections. A single postmarked used copy generally retains a nominal secondary value of 30 to 50 cents. Unused or mint single examples with original gum typically average 40 cents to $1 among philatelic dealers. For collectors seeking larger formats or certified pieces, market prices adjust slightly upward. A mint plate block of 4 usually sells for around $2 to $3. While a complete mint sheet of 50 stamps generally commands between $15 and $20 on retail sites like eBay. High-grade certified specimens, such as those evaluated in Superb 98 condition with perfect margins, represent the peak value for this issue and can sell for $50 to $60 at auction. Whether you collect statehood commemoratives or love Western American imagery, Scott 1001 is a vibrant representation of Colorado history. Check your copies for clean perforation teeth and centered margins to evaluate their condition. Next up, we are taking a close look at a milestones issue, the 1951 3-cent landing of Cadillac at Detroit stamp, recognized across the philatelic community as Scott Catalog number 1000, released on July 24, 1951, in Detroit, Michigan. This commemorative issue was produced to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the landing of French explorer Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac and the founding of Detroit in 1701, printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing on rotary presses. The stamp was produced in a bright blue ink with gauge 11 by 10.5 perforations. The artwork cleverly merges history with modernity, showcasing Cadillac and his French landing party stepping ashore from their canoes in 1701. contrasted against the towering 1951 Detroit city skyline in the background. A total of over 114 million copies were issued to cover standard first-class domestic letter rates of the period when evaluating the market dollar value of Scott 1000. In today's secondary collector market, its large total print run keeps basic copies within easy reach for any collector. A single used example with a standard postal cancellation typically carries a nominal value of around 30 to 35 cents. Unused or mint single copies with intact original gum sell for approximately 40 to 50 cents from standard philatelic dealers for collectors aiming for complete multiples or graded pieces. Secondary market prices scale up slightly. A mint plate block of 4 generally trades for around $2, while a full mint sheet of 50 stamps typically retails between $15 and $18.50 on the secondary market. Certified high-grade examples present the ultimate premium, with a mint never hinged copy graded Superb 98 reaching up to $45 at auction due to exceptional paper freshness and flawless centering, whether you collect historical milestone anniversaries or classic Michigan postal history. Scott 1000 stands as an impressive design that bridges America's colonial past with its 20th century industrial era. Be sure to examine your copies for crisp perforation teeth and centered margins to establish accurate grading. Next up, we are examining one of the absolute gems of early 20th century American Philately, the 1901 10-cent Fast Ocean navigation stamp from the legendary Pan American Exposition series, designated as Scott Catalog Number 299. Issued on May 1, 1901, in Buffalo, New York, this high-denomination issue was designed to celebrate modern American industrial achievement and maritime engineering. The stamp features a striking two-color design with a deep red-brown ornate frame enclosing a black central vignette that depicts the steamship Steady Paul, an ocean liner famed for her speed and transatlantic service. Produced by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing on flat plates with double-line USPS watermarks and gauge 12 perforations, this issue was subject to strict quality controls. Because the 10-cent denomination primary served heavier international mail rates and special registry services, its total press run of roughly 5 million copies was significantly lower than the lower value stamps in the set when looking at current market values for Scott 299 in today's active collector marketplace. This stamp commands strong price stability due to its high demand among classic U.S. collectors. A standard used copy with a typical postal cancel generally sells between $25 and $40 for average centering. However, a postmarked example in fine to very fine condition with light cancellation easily reaches $50 to $75 for unused or mint copies. Prices scale up quickly depending on condition and gum quality. An unused stamp with original gum that has been previously hinged typically carries a market value between $100 and $130. Pristine mint never hinged examples in very fine condition average between $250 and $350. Furthermore, rare certified high-grade specimens, rated VFX 85 or Superb 95, regularly push into the $500 to $800 price range at major philatelic auctions. Whether you collect maritime transportation themes or are building a complete 1901 Pan American set, Scott 299 stands out as one of the most magnificent bicolor engravings ever produced by the United States. Always check for crisp frame alignment, original gum state, and perforation soundness when assessing its value. Next up, we are focusing on a remarkable scientific commemorative issue, the 1951 3-cent American Chemical Society stamp, cataloged across the philatelic community as Scott number 1002, issued on September 4, 1951. In New York City, this release celebrated the Diamond Jubilee anniversary, marking 75 years since the founding of the American Chemical Society in 1876, printed in a rich violet-brown shade by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing on rotary presses. The stamp measures gauge 11 by 10.5 perforations. The intricate central artwork features the official diamond emblem of the American Chemical Society, flanked by early laboratory distillation equipment on the left and a modern industrial chemical refinery processing plant on the right. With a total press run of over 117 million copies, It served as standard first-class letter postage throughout the country in the early 1950s when analyzing the modern dollar value of Scott 1002 in today's secondary collector market. Its large total production keeps individual copies very affordable for philatelists. A single used example with a standard postmark carries a nominal market value of 25 to 35 cents. Unused or mint single copies with original gum are similarly accessible, generally selling for around 40 cents to $1 among dealer inventories for collectors interested in larger multiple formats or graded copies. The secondary valuation scales up depending on condition. A mint plate block of 4 typically sells for $2, while a complete mint sheet of 50 stamps generally commands between $8 and $15 on retail platforms. Certified high-grade specimens represent the top end of the market, with a mint never-hinged copy evaluated in superb 98 condition reaching around $35 at auction due to flawless margins and centering, whether you collect science-themed stamps or mid-century. American Commemoratives, Scott 1002 stands as a detailed tribute to scientific innovation and chemical research. Check your copies for clean perforations and well-centered borders to establish accurate grading. Next up, we are turning our attention to a classic 19th century classic from the famous banknote era, the 1881 1-cent Benjamin Franklin Ray engraved issue, recognized throughout the philatelic community as Scott Catalog Number 206, issued in late 1881 by the American Banknote Company. This stamp was produced as a Ray engraved modification of earlier banknote designs to refresh worn plates and optimize print quality, printed on soft porous paper in a distinctive gray-blue shade with gauge 12 perforations. Scott 206 features a profile bust of Benjamin Franklin enclosed within a delicate oval engine-turned frame. To re-engrave this issue, the American Banknote Company deepened the lines around Franklin's profile, making the background shading stronger and the frame details crisper compared to its predecessor, Scott 182. Over 2 billion copies were produced, primarily serving to pay the rate on circulars, drop letters, and unsealed third-class mail across the nation during the 1880s when evaluating the market dollar value of Scott 206 in today's active collector marketplace. Condition and centering play massive roles in determining price. Because billions were printed and heavily used, standard used examples with typical heavy cancellations or average centering are very common, generally valued between 50 cents and $2. However, a postmarked used copy featuring very fine centering and a light cancel moves up in value, usually selling for $5 to $10 for unused or mint condition specimens. The valuation rises noticeably depending on gum condition and centering. An unused example with original gum that has been previously hinged typically trades between $25 and $60 for fine grades. Pristine mint never hinged copies in very fine condition carry significantly higher premiums, averaging between $150 and $225. Exceptional certified high-grade specimens rated superb 95 or higher can easily command several $100s at major auctions due to the rarity of perfect centering on 19th century banknote issues. Whether you specialize in banknote varieties or are building a comprehensive classic United States collection, Scott 206 remains an essential piece of 19th century American postal heritage. Be sure to check your copies carefully for paper softness, ray engraved lines, and border margins to accurately grade your stamp. Next up, the for St. George Washington stamp from the Washington Franklin series, cataloged in the philatelic community as Scott number 427, released in September 1914 by the United States Post Office Department. This issue represents an important transition period when the Bureau of Engraving and Printing adopted new perforation standards to enhance stamp durability, printed in a distinct brown shade on flat plate presses with single-line USPS watermarks. Scott 427 features gauge 10 perforations. The vignette displays a sharp profile bust of George Washington modeled after the famous 1785 marble statue by French sculptor Jean-Antoine Houdin, framed by a classic laurel wreath with numerical for cent callouts at the bottom corners. Issued to handle double-weight first-class letters, registry supplements, and parcel mail. Over 300 million copies of this specific flat plate issue were produced during its working life when evaluating the market dollar value of Scott 427 in today's active collector market. Condition, gum status, and centering play major roles in determining value. A standard used copy with a typical postal cancellation generally holds a modest secondary market value between 60 cents and $1.50 for average centering. However, a postmarked specimen featuring very fine centering and a light, clean cancel commands a higher average value around $5 to $15 for collectors seeking unused or mint condition single stamps. Prices scale up depending on gum preservation. An unused copy with original gum that has been previously hinged typically carries a market value between $15 and $30. Pristine mint, never hinged specimens in very fine condition average anywhere from $35 to $60 in today's active philatelic marketplace. Furthermore, rare certified high-grade specimens, rated superb 95 or higher, can easily reach over $100 at specialized auctions due to how difficult it is to find. Perfectly balanced margins on early gauge 10 flat plate. Issues: whether you collect the massive Washington Franklin Definitive Series or focus on early 20th century U.S. postal history, Scott 427 stands out as an essential workhorse issue. Be sure to check your copies carefully with a perforation gauge and watermark tray to confirm the single-line watermark and gauge 10 size before determining your stamp's grade. Next up, we are focusing on a fascinating mid-century engineering issue, the 1950 to 3-cent Centennial of Engineering stamp, cataloged in the philatelic community as Scott number 1012, issued on September 6, 1952, in Chicago, Illinois. This commemorative release celebrated the 100th anniversary of the founding of the American Society of Civil Engineers. Established back in 1852, printed in a distinct bright violet blue shade by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing on rotary presses. The stamp measures gauge 11 by 10.5 perforations. The artwork visually contrasts a century of civil engineering progress by depicting a traditional 1852 wooden-covered bridge with a horse-drawn wagon on the lower left, juxtaposed against the modern suspension spans of the George Washington Bridge in New York City on the right. Over 113 million copies were issued to meet nationwide demand for first-class domestic letter postage during the 1950s. When reviewing the market dollar value of Scott 1012 in today's active collector marketplace, its abundant supply keeps individual copies accessible for all collectors. A single used example with a standard postal cancellation carries a nominal secondary value of roughly 25 to 35 cents. Unused or mint single copies featuring original gum are similarly affordable, generally selling between 40 cents and $1 on average for collectors aiming for larger formats or certified pieces. Secondary market valuations increase moderately. A mint plate block of 4 typically sells for around $1.50 to $2.50, while a complete mint sheet of 50 stamps commands between $12 and $18 on retail platforms. Certified high-grade specimens represent the top tier, with a mint never hinged copy evaluated in superb 98 condition, reaching between $30 and $45 at auction due to exceptional paper freshness and perfect centering. Whether you collect bridge-themed, topical stamps, or classic mid-century U.S. commemoratives, Scott 1012 stands as a fantastic homage to American infrastructure and civil design. Check your copies for sharp perforations and balanced borders to accurately evaluate their condition. Thank you for tuning into Stamps Old World Us, and remember to like and subscribe for more regular stamp overviews and current market price breakdowns.